The Veganist Life. I am Chef Candace, and I am here with Jamhal Johnson of Moor's Brewing Company. Woo, 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 woo. Go Chi-Town, go Chi-Town.
What's up, Chi-Town?
What up, what up? So we just collaborated and did a food and beverage pairing where we used beer as the
Moor's
ingredient. Moor's beer.
Yeah.
So the menu consisted of a beer braised, barbecue, jackfruit, and a beer battered onion ring as our side.
Yeah, that was good.
It was so good. It was just bussin', as we say in the shop. Bussin'. So Jamhal is my very first guest here at the Veganist Life, and I wanted to highlight Moor's Brewing Company because it is a Black-owned business in Chicago, and that needs to be fully celebrated. And I wanted to talk about the two beers that we used for our delicious meal today. So tell us about the two beers that we used.
Yeah, so the two beers we used today is two of our best sellers. Moor's Session Ale. It's a light ale, about 5% alcohol. It's made with green papaya, key lime, and lemongrass. So it has a lot of great flavor notes, and it really worked well with that onion ring batter. I thought that was awesome. I mean, I never had onion rings like that before, so that was great. And we braised the jackfruit with our Moor's Hell's Lager, which is a traditional Munich-style lager with a hint of honeydew melon. So that added a great flavor to the jackfruit. And I can't say enough about the addition of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. That just took it over the top. So that was awesome.
You know about that Sweet Baby Ray's.
It was awesome. So thank you for even considering Moor's beer for such a great dish. I think we can use that going forward. Awesome.
Thank you. And might I add, it's vegan.
Yes.
And gluten-free.
Yes.
So I wanted to show just everyone what you can do with vegetables and what you can do with adding an ingredient like beer to your recipe. I mean, that braised jackfruit, it gave it so much flavor. I mean, it really just gave the feel of a pulled meat situation, and then it was topped with an amazing slaw pretzel buns. You'll see it in a minute.
It was awesome.
It was just ridiculous.
Bringing back memories.
Yeah,
Bringing back sweet memories.
So Jamhal Johnson, do you have a middle name?
I do.
What is it?
M. Middle initial M. I don't know what to say. I do have a middle name. Guess.
Marquez.
It's really close.
What is it?
It's Martez. M-A-R-T-Z. So that was close.
I need to play the live.
I know, that was awesome. That was a good
I was trying to be funny.
That was a good first guess. That was a good first guess. You got it right. Almost. So. Absolutely.
Let's talk about Moor's. Let's talk about the history of the Moors.
Yes.
And what they did for civilization, period.
Yes.
And speak on it.
Well, as a brand, we wanted to leverage, first we wanted to kind of infuse art, history, and culture into our brand. We wanted to leverage the rich history of the Moors because it's not widely known here in the United States. You see it a lot more prevalent in Europe. So basically the Moors were Northern Africans. In 711 AD, they crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and entered into Europe and pretty much occupied Europe for about 700 years, mostly in Spain. They brought with them a bunch of science and math and technology, specifically the science of fermentation and distilling, which is why we leveraged their rich history and their identity for our brand.
or our rich history. We are descendants of just a legacy that is so rich, that brought so much value to civilization,
Yes.
to food. We would not have anything fermented, so no kombuchas, no beer,
No whiskey,
no whiskey,
no vodka, no tequila,
none of that. So yeah, so okay. So now speaking on the birth of Moor's
Yes.
Brewing Company. So tell us about that. I know that it is a young company.
Yes. So we are a young company, like you said. We launched June 19th of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So we are approaching our 2-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Since launching, we have done very well, better than expected. We are in about 450 retail locations. That includes large chains here in Chicago. So we're pretty much moving the needle. Having representation in the beer industry as African Americans. Most people don't know that the beer industry severely lacks representation of minorities. Less than 1% of the entire beer industry is African American, which is one of the motivating factors of why we chose to get into the beer industry. So, like I said, we couldn't be more grateful for how things have gone. We appreciate all the support from you and from people, everyone out there that's helped us along the way. We got a great team. So everybody involved, it's been a great mission. We're just getting started, but it's been a great start. So
Wonderful. And I just want to make sure we mention that Moor's Brewing Company launched on Juneteenth.
yes,
Right.
And actually, that's the day that Juneteenth became a national holiday. So we had no idea of that. So
Wow.
it was just kismet.
Yes, kismet. That's another good word, right? Just fate. It was supposed to happen. Moor's, the energy of the ancestors
Yes.
came together, and Moor's was created through the minds of Brother Jamhal. Who else?
I got business partners. I got Damon Patton, he's the CEO. Anthony Bell. I got to shout out Ron Hill. He's our chief creative director. So we got a solid team.
That's amazing. So we learned who the Moors are, or who they were, and the influence that energy had on the birth of. Are you all the first Black-owned?
No, we're not the first Black-owned beer company. Many have tried, but not the way we're doing it, right? I think many that attempt to do beer that are Black in the past, and even some currently, they do so in a method that is assimilating, if that makes sense. So it's much like how it's always been. But I think they, which is understandable. I think most people are afraid to be culture forward, and that's understandable in a super monolithic industry like beer. Most people want to be accepted first, in a room full of others, right? But for us, we felt like we wanted to grow the space. We felt we had to be culture forward to speak to our people. One of the things that we realized during our research is that there was a myth that African Americans didn't drink craft beer because it was too expensive, and we knew that was a false narrative, and it just wasn't consumed by Black people that much because it wasn't really marketed to appropriately. It didn't represent them. Traditionally, the craft beer industry, they make a new beer every week. That approach just doesn't speak to that demographic, right? We felt that our target demographic was brand loyal people. They tend to connect to brands, and we felt like we needed to create beer that was for that discerning palate, adding fruit, elevating beer, much like wine. We have a sommelier on the team that helps us with our profiles. We got great partners. So it's just been a great mission. It's been a great start to a great mission. So we intend to be the first Black-owned and nationally distributed beer company. So that's our goal, and we're on our way.
Okay, cool. That is super cool. Super what's up.
Yeah.
You kind of took my last question away with the future of Moors and just where you see Moors going in the future. I just want to say, like, it is such a it's so powerful to see a Black face, a Black man on a beer can. Like, the beer cans themselves are so luxurious, and I love the standard, right? I love the thought that is put into the beer. I know, like you mentioned, the beer is a big industry. I mean, there's so many, what do you call these beer houses? What do you call
breweries?
Breweries. I couldn't even beer house.
Ton of breweries.
It's a ton of breweries, and I don't necessarily see, as you mentioned, us in the space because maybe it's not welcoming. You know, maybe it's been, you know, very exclusive. Where I feel like Moors is creating more of a inclusive beverage where it's also telling a story.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we definitely, just to piggyback on what you said, like, we definitely wanted to, like I said, grow the space. We wanted to create opportunities for people that look like us in new spaces, chart new career paths, understand that you can get into consumer packaged goods. You can get your products in a retail. One thing about the breweries that you see around town, their business models differs starkly from ours. I think they focus more on people coming to their place and their food, and not necessarily their beer being in retail. But like I said before, our goal is to be a national beer brand, distributed across the United States and across the waters even. So
awesome. So how many beer types do you currently have?
Right now we have, I believe, 4 beer types. We have 3 ales, right? But they're different types of ales, right? So we have a session ale, which is a light 5%.
And that's the one we use.
This is one of the beers that we use for the
jackfruit?
No, for the onion rings.
For the onion rings, okay.
And then we have an IPA, which is a India Pale Ale.
Okay.
The difference in regular ales and Indian Pale Ale is in England, when they were shipping beer to India, they put a lot of hops in it because of the time it would take to get over there. So there's a lot more hops and there's a lot more bitter. So that's why they call IPA or Indian Pale Ale IPA Indian Pale Ale. It's not because it's from India.
I never
or
knew.
anything like that. It was about the beer that was going to India. They had to put more hops in it.
That makes sense. For preservation?
To preserve it, yeah.
Preserve it.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have a porter. We have an imperial porter. It's made with blueberries, roasted chocolate, coffee, and a hint of lavender on the nose. That's a really great beer for, dark beer lovers. Primarily in like the fall, winter months. That's when I usually drink that one. And our Hell's Lager. We have a Moor's Hell's Lager. It's like I said, a traditional Munich style German lager. Very crushable and light. But we flavored ours with honeydew melon. So that's a bit different from anybody else's. I think ours is the best. It's one of my favorites actually. We have a brown ale, and it has a barrel aged maple syrup. So those are beer types that we have. We're actually going to come with a new beer, a Pilsner, for June, our anniversary. So that will pretty much round out our lineup and kind of touch every beer sort that is popular amongst consumers. So.
Perfect. Sounds amazing. I am so excited just to see the Moor's Brewing Company brewing. No pun intended.
Yeah, we bubbling.
We bubbling, baby. And I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you.
I am honored to be the first guest.
Thank you.
I will say this, you could look back on it, you know what? Yeah. You're going to be able to look back on this day, and this is going to be like the first show. It's going to be all like,
all cheesy, no,
But just take this as an example and then look at it where you end up, and I think you're going to be right where you want to be. I think you make great food. More people should know about Chef Candace. She's burning up these pots and pans on the vegan side. So shout out to you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Well, that wraps up the first episode of The Veganist Life with Chef Candace and
Jamhal Johnson,
Moor's Brewing. Make sure when you see the Moors,
holla.
Go
buy the beer. Jewel Osco, Benny's, Mariano's, Whole Foods.
If you're in Chicago.
Yeah, if you're in Chicago. But soon, wherever you are.
Coming soon to a location near you. Peace. So make sure you go check out Moor's Beer in the Chicagoland area.
Absolutely. Actually, follow us at Moor's Beer on IG, at MOORSBEER, and hit our website at moorsbeer.com. So we got all this fly merch and other things. I mean, I don't know if we got this one, but we got a ton of other things.
And make sure you hit that like
and subscribe,
baby. Check me out.
YouTuber.
And you can find me on Instagram at The Veganist Life. TheVeganous Life. One word. Okay? Peace. Holla at your girl.